So the movie It Ends With Us came out last week, and I was quite surprised because it was actually good. So although there is a lot of controversy around the rollout of the movie and the castmate, the movie itself was actually quite good and very well produced and directed. So Justin Baldoni was perfect for his role as Ryle. He had the looks and the substance for the role, and Blake Lively definitely had the charisma and the allure for the role of Lily Bloom, but the acting was a bit lackluster at times. That's the only bad thing I would say about her role as Lily Bloom. But other than that, Lily and Ryle looked very good together as a couple in the movie, and their individual stories were both so touching. I like that this movie was about DV or IPV because we don't talk about it enough. So the way it was depicted made it very impactful in my opinion. I love that the movie centered the love life of a young woman whose mother was abused by her husband because it showed the psychological implications for her later in adulthood. So we saw how Lily could have continued the cycle and repeated the same pattern as her mom, but by staying with that abusive partner. So I really like that they took their time with Lily and Ryle's story and it didn't go straight to the abuse because it is important for the general public to understand that DV develops in stages and it establishes itself in insidious ways. Initially, when you meet an abuser, they don't really come across as abusive or even a little unstable. When you first meet them, they're actually quite charming and intriguing, mysterious, and even seductive for the most part because they need to be appealing enough to attract prospects. And in Ryle's case, he had the looks on top of the charm, so he was an absolute menace. So his love story with Lily started out like most beautiful love stories where the guy is super seductive, the energy is electric and almost intoxicating, and then things start to escalate slowly. So when you compare Ryle and Lily's dynamic to Atlas and Lily's dynamic, you realize that one is a bit more intense than the other, but not in a good way. So Lily and Ryle's dynamic had a more chill and comforting vibe to it. It was giving nurturing, it was giving protective and kind energy. On the other hand, Ryle and Lily's dynamic was giving jittery, jumpy, cat and mouse, and calculated. Lily and Atlas had a love story that I found much more deep and it just had more substance for me because of the fact that they both came from abusive homes and they both understood what it entailed and it made it even more impactful. So they're both naturally so kind and empathetic. I was so pleased that they actually ended up together and it made a lot of sense because I think that she was always drawn to Atlas, but somehow, and I think because of her unhealed wounds and her trauma and what she's grown up to witness, she must have been subconsciously drawn to Ryle instead of Atlas. So I'm pretty sure it was my heart is pulling me towards Atlas, but I feel this thing with Ryle. I don't know what it is, but it's magical, it's familiar, it's electric. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people who grew up in abusive homes or who witnessed a lot of traumatic events. They can have a hard time judging what's basically better for them. So they can tend to have poor judgment, be a bit impulsive, and go for what they know as well. Because people really tend to follow those patterns that they've learned in childhood. So I think it was a great way. I mean, it was a great storytelling, is what I'm trying to say. I really loved it, and I'm pleased that Lily and Atlas ended up together because that's what we want to be promoting for the girlies. But overall, I give the movie a 7 out of 10. It was a good movie. I see that they really made the effort to depict DV in a conscious and meticulous way. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this analysis.